Can you stop in the middle?
Whatever you want, yeah, we can stop, we can talk, because
Yes.
yeah, we can cut it out.
When the tea's ready.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So what I thought to do was first to start. I'm interested in those, especially on those early days. Before you became Orthodox, there was the PTO, the pilgrimage to Orthodoxy,
Yes.
and all that kind of situation. But even before that, just to get a bit of a background, first of all, how long were you a priest in the Church of England?
I was a priest for exactly 30 years.
30 years. Okay. And I was reading that there was a decision to ordain women, and it was a big issue for many clergy in the
Yes.
Church of England. But I was just, and I saw in the newsletter also, you mentioned that this was a breaking point for you and for many others. But I was just curious whether before that you had any theological concerns, any concerns with the Church of England, because I noticed somewhere you were saying that it wasn't a decision of 3-4 years. It was really, you said, a pilgrimage of 40 years.
That's right. Yes.
So yeah, I was just curious on that.
Well, the background of it, Michael, is that I loved Orthodoxy from my teenage years. I first knew about Orthodoxy when I was a teenager. And then various things happened. And in those days, in the 1940s and 50s, the Orthodox Church and the Anglican Church internationally were very interested in each other. And there was a lot of hope that things would get better. And the same was true with the Church of England, Anglican worldwide, and the Roman Catholic Church. And a lot of people were interested in Roman Catholicism. And then in the 1960s, I was ordained as an Anglican priest in 1965. And it's really about that time that things, where the Church of England and the Orthodox Church, or the Anglican Church throughout the world, I should say, and the Orthodox Church had been getting closer together, but about that sort of time, they began to go apart again. It was realised by many Orthodox that Anglicanism really was rather different from Orthodoxy, though it had many ways in which it was like it. In some ways, they were growing apart now. And so from the 1960s to the 1990s, I suppose, they were growing apart. And this was to my sorrow. I had, when I was a student at university, I went on a pilgrimage with other Anglican students and Presbyterian students, people in different universities, studying to be clergy of their own church. And I went with others to the White Russian youth camp in the summer in the French Alps. We weren't there a long time, but we were there several days, I think. And this confirmed me in my desire to become Orthodox. And then in my third parish, I think, I was in Bath, and the city of Bath, and after I'd been there about a year and a half, I think, I learnt that Father Yves Dubois was coming to live in Bath. Now, I had studied with Father Yves in London, in the university, in King's College London, and so I knew him, and I wrote to him and said, I'm so glad to hear you're coming to Bath to start a new Orthodox parish, and I hope that we'll be able to work together and so on. He wrote back enthusiastically, and we were, as soon as they arrived, we made contact, and they lived only about a mile and a half from our house, and we had a parish, the parish of Holy Trinity, Bath Queen's, Holy Trinity Queen Square in Bath, and for all my time in living in Bath, which was until 1989, I had close contact with the Orthodox parish, and that worked very well. If they needed a church, they only had a house chapel. If they needed a church for a bigger event, they would borrow my church in the centre of Bath, and it all worked very well. When they first came, my wife Hilary helped with them with their singing. We had our first child. All three children were born in Bath, and Hilary helped with their music on the very first Orthodox Easter in Bath, and it worked very well. So that's a sort of background to a continual interest in Orthodoxy, and how and the Church of England and the Anglican Church throughout the world.
Okay. You knew Orthodoxy from your youth?
Yes.
Do you remember how you heard about it?
So
Do you remember how you heard about Orthodoxy?
Well, I was very keen. I was thinking of Anglican priesthood at the time anyway, and I was would read the church newspapers and things like this, and the great organisation which brought together Orthodox people and Anglicans and a few Roman Catholics and a few non-conformist people, Protestants, was the organisation was the Fellowship of St Alban and St Sergius, and I was aware of an Anglican priest who became the secretary, general secretary, with his wife. This was Father Basil Minchin, and his wife Margaret became joint secretaries of the Fellowship of St Alban and St Sergius, which had very distinguished membership, of whom famous ones were Bishop Anthony Bloom, Bishop Callistos Ware, and other well-known people. Father Basil was a good leader of this group, and that continued for a long time, and I became a member of it. After I came back from the Orthodox summer camp, I became a member of the council of the Fellowship of St Albans and Sergius, and who was the name? What was the name of the man and his wife who were in the fellowship? Sorry, well-known layman, lay Russian. He lived in Cernov, Nicholas Cernov, and his wife. What was his wife called? Militsa. And they ran the fellowship living in Oxford, and very much characterful people. They had founded the fellowship in 1929, I think, and it was comparatively small, but was full of influential people and theologians and people interested in orthodoxy. And so I knew about it from there. I attended Orthodox services from time to time, here, there and everywhere. And it was a very happy relationship. And there were quite a lot of Anglican clergy in it. And then in the 1960s, as I said, they started moving away from each other. And the Church of England, its theological position, started becoming very liberal in its approach to theology. And by liberal I mean that people could believe what they liked and say what they liked, and there was a lack of coherence in Anglicanism, and you could believe what you liked in Anglicanism, which was rather sad, I thought, from my position, because I was taking the Orthodox approach to theology and so on. Next one.
Okay, thank you. And from a outsider, even from this country, when I hear somebody interested in becoming Orthodox, the one first thing that comes to my mind is like, why Orthodox and not Roman Catholicism? I'm just curious on that.
Well, Anglicanism and is one kind of the Christian faith, and Roman Catholicism is a different kind, and Orthodoxy is its unique approach. And I felt that I approached the Christian faith in the Orthodox manner, and this is what many people did. However, I should say that it was a very small group of people who actually did anything about it. In 1992, skipping forward some years, in 1992, the Church of England decided, in principle, that it would have women priests. Now that was a great change. Until that point, Anglicanism could be very liberal and everything else from time to time in one way or another, but it wasn't a matter of an institutional part of the Anglican religion. The Anglican, you could quote Anglicanism and say, Anglicanism believes this and believes that about it. And on the whole, people like myself interpreted it in an orthodox manner. But people who didn't interpret it in a completely different manner. And Anglicans started believing their own version of Christianity. And there were one or two people, Anglican priests, who were extreme in this, and yet were never disciplined, never told off, as the Orthodox Church would do, about their misbeliefs. It was just accepted. There's a John Cupit at the University of Cambridge, was a hospital and a college dean there. He eventually got to the position of saying he didn't believe in God, but he was still allowed to be an Anglican priest. Extraordinary. And similar people and similar things. And the Bishop of Durham, whose name I forget for the moment, he became like this to a large degree, and was never disciplined against it. And this didn't seem to be right. Far from being able to believe what you like. We believe as Orthodox Christians, and I believed as an Anglican, an Orthodox Anglican, if you like, that I could believe what the Church said, and that was had the truth in it. So it became rather different.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, can we stop there for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
What about tea now, dear?
Yeah.
But yeah, it came to me as I said, I was reading the newsletters, and then I'm realizing we're going near the 30 years mark of. It depends from where you start counting. Like Pilgrimage to Orthodoxy, first newsletter is 1994, so we're past the 30 years mark. 1995, you are at some point renaming the PTO to St. Helens Community, which is going to be.
Well, PTO was a national thing, and it was run by Nicholas Chapman, who is the editor for the Orthodox now what's it called in America. Now he went to live in America with his wife, and he's the also publisher for who is it, the Rockall, I think, something like that, in eastern United States. I'm not sure where he lives. Oh, he lives at the monastery of, is it Holy Trinity or Holy Transfiguration, I forget, near New York, in New York State, I think. He ran it, he organised it as a layman, and though he has been criticised a bit for some of it, he in fact did a very good job. I didn't mention in earlier, I should have done. In 1994, Patriarch Ignatius IV of Antioch came to Paris to visit his parish there and the bishop there. Bishop Gabriel, and Nicholas Chapman managed to get us an invitation to go and meet them in their flat, in the flat near the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and that was the big moment for us. There had been approaches made vaguely to Archbishop Anthony Bloom and to Archbishop Gregorius, both in London, and both of them had not rejected us, but had said they couldn't help really, which was very disappointing for us. This was a group of pilgrimage to orthodoxy.
Did they explain why?
Well, what they said and what was put together, and even Bishop Callistos and the then Bishop Basil of the Russian community, who has gone off the rails since then, unfortunately. They all very willing to help, but they couldn't do it officially because they're the senior bishops wouldn't have us. And it was thought, let me put it that way, that there was something political in this, church political, between the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Patriarch of Constantinople. The Anglicans were willing to help, but willing to help Orthodoxy in a hold-back way. Father Athanasius Ledwich, whose book should be on the bookstall in the book library in St Helens, wrote a book about it. He had become an Orthodox before the rest of us. He had been an Anglican priest, and he became Orthodox, and Patriarch Meletios, I think, or was it Bishop Meletios in London? Bishop Meletios in London, I expect. I'm getting a bit mixed up, this is all years ago. Ordained him and got into trouble with the Archbishop of Canterbury and was removed from office in London because the Patriarch of Constantinople wanted to have good relations with the Anglican Church, because the Anglican Church has been in a difficult position, but has supported Orthodoxy in the Holy Land and in Constantinople, in Istanbul, and they didn't want their relationship with the Church of England to be spoilt, and the Archbishop of Canterbury apparently was making trouble, which was a pity because I knew the Archbishop of Canterbury, and I worked for him in a distant way, and it was all very difficult. So we were rejected by Greece, we were rejected by Russia and other Russian groups and so on. And this opportunity came. We went to Paris, about 12 of us, 12 Anglican priests, near the Champs-Élysées, and met the Patriarch. And the Patriarch came I can see him now, opening his arms, and said to us, "Welcome." And there were tears in the eyes of many of us. He was an archbishop, a patriarch, wanting to help, willing to stand out and be help. He'd had experience, of course, of this in America. Archbishop Philip in America had welcomed non-Orthodox in groups. Many of them were not Anglicans, they were charismatics, and yet he welcomed them. He saw people as needing orthodoxy, and he welcomed. And there in Paris, he had said, "Welcome to us." And it was a very moving moment. In 1994, I think, November or December 1994. And we were very moved and came home. The Archbishop, the Patriarch, had said to us, "We will welcome you as priests, we will ordain you, examine you, and to make sure that you're responsible as priests, and ordain the priests, and then the priests will receive the people in their parishes who wish to become Orthodox with them." And that's what happened. A very moving point.
Yes. Once you decided that you wanted to leave, so I'm taking you a little bit back now. The thing with the ordination of women in the Church of England is happening. So at that moment, more or less, you're saying this is enough for us. What are the first steps there? Do you start talking to other Anglican priests? How do you decide what to do, like where to go and how to act?
Well, we talked to Anglican priests and to Orthodox priests and lay people of both churches and bishops and everybody that we could, most of us. And that worked very well. In 1989, I left Bath. I had been there 10, 11 years as a parish priest and felt I'd done enough in that parish. It had been very run down as an Anglican parish. I brought life back into the parish, and as I say, I'd welcomed orthodoxy into my church building. They used to use it we had Bishop Callistos there, we had Anthony Bloom, Bishop Anthony Bloom there, and it had gone very well. And we then I felt I'd done enough in Bath, and I was offered the parish of Bocking. Now, Bocking is a very unusual place. It's what's called an Archbishop's Peculiar, which means to say that the Archbishop of Canterbury has an immediate role in the parish of Bocking, which is attached to the town of Braintree. So the Braintree and Bocking are two parishes, but one belongs to the Bishop of London, or Bishop of Chelmsford nowadays, and the other belongs to the Patriarch of the Archbishop of Canterbury, which is a bit nominal these days. It's not. It's more nominal than anything, but that's the case that legally his relationship with the Archbishop of Canterbury, and that was. The Archbishop of Canterbury was, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury?
Runcie.
Robert Runcie. And he was, I had already met him as an Anglican priest. He had been to a pilgrimage which I was chairman of for a short while in Somerset,
Glastonbury.
in Glastonbury, and then I was appointed to be his nominee for Bocking. And so I came back to Bocking in 1989 and was the Dean of Bocking, not just the parish priest of Bocking, but the Dean of Bocking. And I was there, in fact, for 6 or 7 years as a parish priest. But when I went to Bocking, first went to Bocking, I said to the church wardens and people that if the Church of England decided to ordain women, I would be leaving. I didn't at that stage know for definite what I would be doing, but I was a member of Pilgrimage to Orthodoxy and so on, and would be leaving the Church of England. And they accepted that. We did all sorts of things while I was in Bocking. We restored the building, the church building. I restored the almshouse there with government money, with a lot of money from the government. And we took in not just old people in the almshouse, but people of needing, what's the word?
Well, mentally disabled.
Mentally disabled people, mostly younger people. And that worked very well. So we had about 30 people, I would think, in the almshouse. And I opened that, in fact, just after I'd become Orthodox. I went back from Colchester to Bocking for that. And the church life improved there and so on. So that was a very happy time in many ways. It was just unhappy in that they decided, as I say, in 1992, that they were going to ordain women, and immediately within about 6 weeks of that ordination, of that decision, I decided with my wife and family that we would leave and become Orthodox. And it worked and coincided with my family and education, different grades of education, secondary and primary and all that. Margaret was already at the county high school here in Colchester. Our older daughter, Caroline, went to the sixth form college. Our younger child, Alex, went to the local comprehensive school, but a very good quality comprehensive school, Philip Morant. And it all worked together. I must say the Church of England treated me very well. They made it a condition that if clergy could leave the Church of England because of the ordination of women, that they would pay them as a sort of pension, and that went on for some years, and I still benefit from the Church of England pension. I was able to live on that and other pensions which came in, like my wife's teaching pension and so on. And that was, we were able to buy a house with the Church of England mortgage, they were helping me. I was leaving them. It was very good. And that same happened with numbers of clergy in Britain, in England, the Church of England, and was a great, enormous help, of course. So I've always maintained very good relationships with the Church of England, well, almost always. I kept friendly with them, and in spite of leaving them, and making it clear why they all knew why I was leaving them. And we got a small house, very small house, near Philip Morant School. But that was so small it was impossible. We had 3 teenagers and a big dog, and starting a new parish in a tiny front room there. And then we got the use of the a church belonging to the Church of England, St Paul's, near the railway station. But after we'd been there just about 3 weeks, I had a message from the Church of England parish priest, who was also parish priest of St James in East Hill, that we had to leave, not because we had done anything wrong, but because the church was literally likely to fall down, and so they couldn't let us use it any longer. We then, by the grace of God, found the Co-op chapel, Co-op funeral chapel. I don't know whether you remember that. Was that
It was before my time.
just before your time? And we went there in 1992, I think, and we stayed there for 4 years. They didn't charge us any rent. They were very, very good to us. They let us use it on the Saturday and the Sunday, and occasionally, like Easter, Good Friday and things like that. And they worked very well and very happily with us, and we are eternally grateful to the Co-op Society for their help. And we were there for 4 years. And then they decided, the Co-op decided, they were going to pull the church down, the memorial chapel and the mortuary, everything. Going to pull it down and build a new one, which they did in Wimpole Road eventually. So we had to leave there after 4 years. Very happily, so we were happy in St Paul's, but had to leave. We were happy in the Co-op chapel, we had to leave. And then we were in good relationship with the town council, and town council said, would you like to have St Helen's Chapel? And I'd already written a pamphlet about St Helen's and other churches, saying we wanted St Martin's, but there was St Helen's, something should be done with that, something should be done with other churches, about 4 churches altogether. And
4 sad buildings, 4 sad churches. You put in a newsletter back then. It's the front cover of the newsletter.
yes,
And you're saying 4 sad churches.
4, that's right, 4 sad churches.
In Colchester.
That's right, yes. Have you seen a copy of that?
Yes. That's why I remember. Yeah.
Right.
It was St Martin's, St Helen's, Trinity, Holy Trinity,
Holy Trinity,
and one more. I forgot.
and St Leonard's, the Hythe, I think, down on the near the Hythe. So the council knew that we wanted somewhere, and they got the idea that the St Helens was being used only as a storeroom for many years.
We were lucky about that because of the importance of the stuff that was being kept there was that they couldn't display in the castle and so on, that it was heated all that time that the council had it. So, you know, we were able to go straight in without any having to just warm it up and
Yeah.
and
I
make
guess
sure it
it's-
wasn't damp and so on.
Exactly. If
So,
it's heated, you wouldn't
yes.
have any contest.
Whereas when we came eventually to St Martin's, of course, we had to heat that. We had a bit of a time getting, as you know,
Yeah.
getting warm.
Yeah. It was St. Martin's especially was interesting in the newsletters, probably from 1994. You start mentioning St. Martin's, and it keeps coming up every every two
That's
3
right,
issues.
yes.
Like, oh, we're gonna get it. We're near. Well, pray.
That's right.
But then,
That's
no.
right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And the bogey in the whatever the phrase is, bogey in the woods was the people who should have been helping were not helping, and I'm grateful to the Churches Conservation Trust for their eventual help, but they were, I think, morally wrong. We wanted to restore the St Martin's as a church, and they were not at all helpful, and they kept putting us off. We nearly got there, as you say, 3-4 times, but eventually we did. So we are grateful to that, grateful for them, to them for that, and it suited us in so many ways. St Helens suited us, but it was of course much too small. And I said to the people, some of them wanted to stay in St Helens and not to move to St Martin's. And I said, you'll find that the church, St Martin's, will grow in numbers if we do that, and it won't grow if we stay in St Helens. And that's exactly what has happened, of course. I don't know the reason for that, but by the grace of God, that's what happened. And COVID came along, of course, and that affected us. The monastery closed, and so people from the monastery came to us, and it has worked out so far, so good. Praise to God. In starting up here, I built up this list of people who were interested in Orthodoxy. None of them came from my parish, in fact, not one. They showed interest in it, but Anglican people are attached to their building more than to the truth, more than to the truth as a concept. And they were not really, they were very understanding of me. I mean, and my very last service, the church warden's wife came to me and said, you know, Father, you don't have to go. And that brought tears to my eyes, really. You don't have to go. I did have to go because my grounds for going were on grounds of truth. Was my parish part of the Anglican Church throughout the world maintaining the truth? Or was it mistaken? And I felt it was. I had to go. But she was looking at it from the point of view of the church, really. And she was lovely, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Judy and her husband, and we're still friends with them. And when we started in the Co-op Chapel in 19 whatever year it was. A whole load of people came from Bocking to wish us well. A number of people, I should say, not a whole load of people. A number of people came, and that was included Judy and her husband, and but people have a different outlook. If we started being a Buddhist church, a Buddhist place of worship in Bocking, some of the people would still go, and it's or Muslim or anything else. That sounds a bit unhelpful, a bit nasty. I love them; they're lovely people, but they have a different view. But the Church of England has a different way of looking at things. So that's why, partially why, many people in the Church of England who are a bit vague about what they believe, and yet will go to the Church of England church. And from time to time there's a letter in the press, in the paper, one person or another with one set of circumstances or another, of people who perhaps haven't gone to church. They move into a village and they start going to church. It's the church building. England is full of the most beautiful churches, full to brim. Where in many countries, you go to France, and there's a parish church every nine miles. In England, there's a beautiful, gorgeous church every three miles. England, I suppose, has been historically full of people more densely populated than a place like France. The French population, I think, is similar to the British population, and but it's in a huge country compared with Britain. And England has got these wonderful churches all over England. And you go out from here, England, any direction, you'll find most gorgeous buildings. And they love their churches, even if they don't go to church, and they will help them to restore it very often, and that sort of thing. I mean, I went to when I was a small boy, I went to a very modern church building in the suburbs of London, the northwest suburbs, Harrow. And then we moved down to Devon, and I went to the most gorgeous parish church there, and a daughter church, which was part of it, parish. The daughter church was Victorian, not so beautiful, but the parish church is the most beautiful building. My parents are buried there, or their ashes are buried there, and it's always a pleasure to go to that church and see it and say prayers for my parents in that building and in that churchyard. And the Church of England attitude is quite different. Amazing. I don't think I malign them then. I don't think so. There are many people who are very sincerely, and many people who are very deeply unhappy about the last situation of the Church of England today. But they don't leave their church very often.
It's not easy.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I was ordained priest. I was ordained deacon in the Anglican system. Usually, men being ordained for a year as a deacon, and they stay in the same parish as a priest after they're ordained priest for 2 or 3 years. and that is the system. And so I was ordained deacon in 1964, priest in 1965, and then I left the Church of England with my family in 1995. And I was ordained deacon 1996 in September 1996 in the Greek Cathedral in Paris, which was used by the Antiochian bishop for services as well. So they had a Greek service and they had an Antiochian service there every week. And I was ordained there, and several of us clergy were ordained in Paris. And so September 1996, bring it 30 years later, will be exactly the same length of time I've served in the Church of England. And if I can serve just a few months longer than that, that will be very happy for me, to think that I'd served that long. Yes. Whether God will spare me that length is another matter. What year will that be?
2026.
236?
2026.
226. So that's another
Yeah.
1 year?
Yeah,
6?
Yeah,
Next year.
We're 2025 now, so
16 months, isn't it?
It's next year. I'm 30 years. I don't think I registered that. Yes.
Well, you measure your life in days now, don't you, really, rather than years?
Yes. Yes.